I hated Priuses when they first came out. I thought Teslas were like golf carts on the road. I call that my golf cart, you know? So I'm not an EV evangelist. I used to drive my RX-7 and drop a couple gears and thank them for offsetting my carbon footprint.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's like, thankfully they're doing it because I'm clearly not. But there are now new applications of this technology, and the performance and it's a mixture of the economy, the performance, and the packaging. It's getting so much better.
Yeah,
it's changed so much from the Insight and the Prius and, you know, EV1, EV2 that were literally golf carts on the road.
Right.
Now we have some serious performance that consumers are actually going to like. Consumer demand is starting to drive a lot of it.
Hey, welcome to Car Guy Confessions, brought to you by ARP. I'm Jeff Smith. This is my car buddy Cam Benty and car builder Steve Strope, and we're going to tell you some stories.
Welcome to another episode of Car Guy Confessions with Jeff Smith, my buddy Cam Benty, and car builder extraordinaire Steve Strope.
There he is.
We've got kind of a fun thing going on.
Yeah. Well,
what's happening?
Well, this was my fault. Okay, I take full responsibility for this. But the bottom line is, we have talked about electric cars numerous times.
Several times.
We kind of hate them. We sound like we hate them.
Well,
we kind of love the acceleration.
He does.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. But
Throw you under the bus.
So the deal was,
I can't even see out from under the bumper.
So the deal was, I thought, well, let's get somebody who knows something about electric cars from not only their business side, but also their personal experience of driving both fast cars that are internal combustion, but now electric. And he's brought something here to blow your hair back. Okay, so that'll be good. That is Daniel McClellan, who is Kevin McClellan's son and Dave McClellan's grandson.
I know who they are.
You know who they are?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the deal was to have somebody else who could talk about it and point counterpoint. You know, the Jane, you ignorant slut kind of thing.
Right.
So
Right.
Please do not use that within this deal. I told Daniel's mom I wouldn't.
No,
say
this
that.
is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It will.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
But, we talk about electric cars and we talk about, Corvettes and things. We talked about that the other time. And I had some background with some of the things that went on with the Corvette and the evolution. The Z06 is coming out in October, which is an interesting car. We talked about, we were looking at the motor. The motor's pretty awesome.
Flat plane crank motor.
Flat plane crank,
Yeah.
dual overhead
Neat stuff.
cam, 600 horsepower, $62,000. Right. Okay.
We believe what the car and driver people are talking
That's
about,
right.
which is, I think, a fantasy, but that's okay.
Radio delete. Yeah.
So that might be like motor delete.
Exactly. So, but the rumor is, and it's a pretty good rumor, is that the Z06 is coming out, but that the hybrid, after a bunch of testing, has been shelved by Mary Barrow herself because she didn't like internal combustion engines. I don't know. I can't
Internal
point to
combustion engines are dead.
is
now,
the devil.
apparently.
Is the devil.
Okay.
So anyway,
Yes.
so that's where we're at. But I thought that what we would do is have this conversation because, Steve is very, very, we've talked about GT40s with electric motors in them.
Ooh, yeah. There's.
I'm just going to save it for right now.
Yeah.
But there's some look. It's very simple. Hush you. It's very simple. I understand all the performance value. I understand it's as fast as lightning. I've ridden in these cars. I've driven them. As far as speed, et cetera, instant torque, it's all there. There's no argument there. But the stuff that got me into this was, besides design beauty, 250 GTO Ferraris, GT40s, AC Cobras, we can go on and on and on. They're also, as we've spoken before, highly visceral. There's more to a Lamborghini Miura than the absolutely gorgeous car when it's sitting there. It is an orchestration. It's something going on. It's almost living and breathing when it's, and believe me, if you're ever in one, you'll understand, even though they're stick welded pieces of crap. It's the most beautiful stick welded piece of crap you'll ever be in. And that orchestra behind your head and all that stuff going on, the Tesla and other electric cars could wrap it around a tree 4 times speed-wise. Couldn't even get out its own way, let alone handle like a new car. It's not the point. So to say this is new better and to throw away what begat the whole thing as far as performance goes, because back then it was as much as the design and the element. as the chase for performance and speed. I am somebody, as a personal car owner, side with the half or more of the Porsche, it's Porsche, not Porsche, owners that were up in arms when the PDK came out. They're like, but it's faster on the track. Yeah, you're right. And it's completely unemotionally it's detached. You don't have to learn heel toe, you big baby. Yeah. The computer does it for you with downshift. Technologically, is it amazing? Of course it's amazing. Would race guys love it? Of course, it drops their times around the track. It does what it's supposed to.
Right.
It's moving and improving the breed.
Right.
You're right. Not what I want to do on the 2 on the Los Angeles Crest Highway. I want to feel it. I want to be part of it. In fact, I'd rather have an old little 356 Spider. Mm-hmm. Drift that thing with tires this wide. You'll know what a sports car is supposed to be.
Right.
You're learning it. You're connected to it. And that is, I am of the camp that the whole connection to that is why, very important, why I and people like me like this kind of thing. We are not just performance numbers. We're not just, oh my God, this, and this. It's the whole package that draws us into it. So I'm not anti the electric car. Bring it on. But it's just like when your former employers spread the word of print is dead.
Right.
And then they're going to kill all their own magazines. Well, they did. They wanted to say print is dead, in my personal opinion, because they wanted to kill it off for themselves.
Self-fulfilling.
They didn't want it. Yes, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy, in my humble opinion. What do I know?
Right.
But since it's so dead, I can show you. I don't even know how many new magazines that have come out that have packed the shelves.
Right.
That every time I go buy them, they're sold out. So clearly, the folks at Discovery, were not really. They just didn't want to babysit that annoying print. It's that simple.
Right.
I just got a copy of
So
the
when
new
the gas
Corvette
engine's
Fever.
dead, and now everybody on the planet has gotten onto this thing, it's like, for me, I'm getting slightly frustrated with it because it's like, well, the hula hoop's the greatest toy in the world. You should all have hula hoops. In fact, you should make hula hoops. You know what? By 2035, we're all making hula hoops. Why? Because that's what everybody wants. Oh, great. Well, I don't.
Right.
So I'm getting a little frustrated. I'm not anti the electric car. I'm getting frustrated with it. In another 10 years, that's all you'll be able to drive.
Well, we also talk about the functionality of it. How do you charge them up? You know, if everybody has an electric car, how do we charge them up? So these are things that Daniel will have to address.
So, Cal, we have rolling black or brownouts or whatever color you want to use.
Already.
And so if you snapped your fingers and gave everybody an electric car tomorrow, good luck with that, because there's no grid for it.
Right.
So that's an interesting.
And
that's a
these are
subject all
points
of
that we
itself.
need to
That's
bring
not
up.
anti-electric
Absolutely.
car.
These are things because
how's that going to work?
Because functionally, we talk about that, and we've talked about solar and Tesla batteries in your garage and the whole thing. And I don't know. I'd like to hear this.
There's a whole bunch more. Like,
yes.
Nobody talks about how much waste it takes to make them.
Yeah.
How we're getting rid of those batteries, which everybody seems to go, what batteries? What? What are you going to put them in a rocket and send them off at the sun and melt them?
Sounds good.
They're not going in a landfill. So that's the thing that kind of gets me frustrated. It's like, this is the perfect second coming. It's like, no, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect.
Right.
And as you've talked about hydrogen, there's whole tons of other stuff, and they're all like, shh, don't talk about that kind of energy. We don't want that. We want electric now because we've put $30 billion into R&D to have our new line of cars. So you shut up about that hydrogen stuff. It's clear. It's money.
Well, if Elon Musk comes up with the actual lithium, and for the Tesla cars, he could just put it in SpaceX and get rid of it. So
that's what I was thinking.
There you go. So it's a combination of multiple.
So
they're all
for the record,
interconnected.
before we get into this, I'm not anti.
Yes.
I'm just pro.
I'd like
looking
to hear
at the whole package for what
I'd like
it is
to
and what's
hear
going on here.
our problems addressed. Yeah. Find out what they say.
Where addressed?
So here we have
That's another story.
small
That's another
adventure,
show.
a small adventure that's going to happen as well.
Absolutely.
You and I get to go for a ride.
Yeah, I've
Like
been
you on
in
your
a
plane?
Well, close. Sounds
Probably.
like I think.
Well, I've ridden
you're
in a
going to be
couple,
impressed.
so-
I think you're going to be
I've been
impressed.
impressed, trust me.
Yeah.
So we're going to cut away for a second,
Right.
and then come back. It'll be that quick. But,
They're going to leave me naked outside of Albuquerque. That's what they're going to do.
Albuquerque. I'm
It's
looking
a
at a Camaro
fraternity
there.
prank.
But
I'm just going to be left there.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right. So we will return.
Right. I will be gone.
And
Daniel will replace
I
me.
will be gone.
Daniel will replace me. And you can look this way and send those vicious eye looks that you guys give every this way. But I won't be
We'll
here.
play nice. Okay, he'll play nice.
Okay. All right. So we will return
Very good.
forthwith.
And with ARP, it's not just a lot of intake manifolds, studs for heads, but they also have a humongous selection of American and metric that we use all throughout the car, even large bolts that we use on the suspension components, because you want that same strength, that same durability and reliability, plus the beautiful looks.
And stuff outside the catalog.
Right. They have a special order program where if you're a builder and you need some special stuff made, they can do that for you. So it's an amazing, amazing company to work with.
So check them out at arp-bolts.com or check out their catalog. You'll find everything you're looking for.
So you're probably amazed at the speed of our return. So Daniel McClellan is here with us now, who actually owns a Tesla. It's an S3, right?
Model 3.
Model 3. So we just went for a test drive, which we will plug in, I guess, throughout the discussion here with big smiles on our faces. So I got a chance to drive it. Daniel drove it for us. Steve wasn't interested.
I
We got to throw you on the bus.
deserve this.
So,
for some reason.
so the whole concept here is to bring someone in here who actually owns one of these vehicles, knows more about than we do, and to talk about some of the advantages and the pluses. And having driven it, it's throttle responsive, man.
Definitely true.
We were mentioning in the car that for us gearheads with internal combustion engines, we're used to torque curves that start out low, build up, then fall back off again, and you have to have gears to help you get there. This doesn't need that. It has instantaneous torque.
Instant torque.
Instant torque.
Everything right at the hit. And that's 60.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they run pretty good.
Oh, heck yeah. There's no question.
Yeah. Right. And it's right there. I mean, it launches. What did you say the 60-foot time was?
It's about a 150, 60
150,
foot.
yeah,
And it runs
yeah.
1160 in the quarter mile.
Yeah, that's pretty stout.
Yeah.
Because I know my Chevelle runs about those numbers. Not quite. Actually, the best 60-foot time was, I think, a 158, something like that. But it's an incredibly crude car compared to this thing.
We can line them up. I
Yeah.
know. You want to race.
Yeah.
I hear what's going on.
But the problem is that the rest of the time, my car is incredibly crude. It's not something you want to be driving in traffic.
Right.
And this thing does everything very, very well. So it has a lot of advantages. And I think that's probably what gets people attention when you drive it for the first time and you step on the loud pedal and it goes,
I'm sorry. It's not a loud pedal.
okay, it's not. It would be a soft pedal or a quiet pedal. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the performance and what you've seen. How long have you had the car now?
Since March.
March,
I've had the car since March. I started a new position in my job, which actually supports a lot of electric vehicle companies with test equipment for developing batteries, motors, inverters, charging systems. And I'm having to do a lot of LA city driving, drive from Orange County into Los Angeles, drive out here to Ventura. And, it gives me carpool lane access. It cuts through traffic like nothing else.
Right.
And it can drive itself as well, which is very nice.
So let's talk a little bit about that. It'll drive itself.
Sure.
So how disconcerting is that?
Well, if you're used to not really paying attention very much in traffic, it's much safer than usual. If you're going to be on your phone anyways, you might as well be in a car that's steering and starting and stopping by itself. 3 hours in LA traffic will do some bad stuff to people. So,
yes. Attention deficit disorder, I think, falls in there somewhere. Yes.
Yes. So it's a much more comfortable car to drive every day. I was not a diehard. I'm still not a diehard. I mean, I have stupid cars of my own, sports cars, V8 swap Mazdas. I drag race, and anything that I want to do for
the wagon
racing,
is how quick?
The wagon has been 980, doing a wheel stand to the bumper.
What is the wagon?
The wagon's
I understand it's a wagon. What wagon?
1980 Malibu station
Oh,
wagon.
it's Malibu. Okay.
Yeah, Malibu wagon.
G-body.
G-body. It has a stroked LS3, power glide, 6,000 stall converter, 456 gears, and it
and
does sweet
stands
wheel
that
stand.
See, now
puppy
we
on
can
the
have a beer.
bumper
Yes.
and leaves hard, right? Right.
Yes.
You leave and you see blue sky.
Absolutely. So that's purpose-built drag race car. I mean, it's
Right.
It's a lot of fun, but that's all it does.
That's all it does.
Yeah.
Right.
Also have a 94 RX-7 that also has a stroked LS engine in it, 6-speed, set up like a road race car. And that's the only other car that I've driven on the street that can hit like an electric motor. I mean, the throttle response, it's just there because it's basically set up like a race car.
Right.
It's meant to do one thing very well.
Right.
So it's been a very unique experience, I'd say, for me. For a car, a daily driver, a Camry replacement, I don't think I want anything that's not electric powered again in the future.
Really?
Unless I need to go long distances, the electric is a much more comfortable and easier to drive car. So,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And I could see why, because in that short period of time that I drove it, it was fun. And what was interesting also was lifting off the throttle and how regenerative braking, it pulls you down where your dad said you got to find the sweet spot there where it won't decelerate real hard because you're used to driving a car where you lift off, everything goes into kind of coast mode. This thing does not. Now you can turn that off. But
you can, but it extends your range. It saves your brakes as well.
Right,
So
right.
if you drive it responsibly, which I don't, but if you drive it responsibly,
He's an honest man.
you not to, doesn't it?
it does. It does.
Yeah.
The power's right there, but if you drive it responsibly, they call it 1 foot driving. You almost never have to replace the brakes. The brakes can be a 100,000-mile service item.
Which is something out here, people, I remember going down the freeway one time following this woman, and I hit my brakes once. She hit her brakes 24 times.
Okay.
So it's one of those things, if you're paying attention,
Sure.
But it's just on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. And that's why there's so many brake shops in Los Angeles.
Of course.
Because in traffic, you just use them up. So
Right.
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So, do you want to do the counterpoint now?
You know what? There is no real counterpoint. I've said enough. Well, I'm not anti it at all. I just don't want it replacing.
Right.
It will
Well,
never replace for me the things that I love about the performance automobile.
Sure.
Nowhere have I ever stated that the vehicles do not have an unbelievable performance.
Right.
It's interesting though obviously as a commuter, and again I've been in these vehicles. I haven't just hated them from the sidewalk, even though I do hate them from the sidewalk. I've driven them, and they're extremely, just like riding in it tonight, it's extremely comfortable. It is mildly disturbingly quiet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Which is kinda nice.
Need something, but I guess that's what the stereo and Metallica is for. But I can understand, especially owning one and driving one, for a brainless commuter vehicle. You're not bothering with gas stations. It can get out of its own way clearly, and it handles properly. As a get around vehicle to do things with, rock and roll. I can see it. My venomous reaction to the situation is the world grabbing onto it, not looking at the whole picture and thinking it's the second coming. And then all the manufacturers who all they're seeing is dollar bills. They're not seeing, saving the polar bears as much as they'd love to use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that rubs me.
Well, I think also, though,
not the cars themselves.
electric stuff is, also being forced, the manufacturer being forced to do this because of CAFE standards, right?
Right.
You sell all these big trucks that we all own that get 22 miles a gallon on the freeway. They're much better than they used to be, but when the government's got a CAFE standard that's 50% higher than that, really hard to achieve that.
Well, and I think you brought up the one that's going to shock the most people, because I think people like us, I'll lump myself into this group.
Yeah, you're allowed.
I think people like us that own a truck, that like hot rods, might have a muscle car in their garage. They like the truck because it has a big V8. Now some are forced to have turbo V6s or 4 cylinders. The first time you drive an electric truck and tow with it and load it down, you'll be amazed at how much better it performs. And it's think of it as electrification. It can be a full electric vehicle. It can be a hybrid vehicle. Maybe the hybrid motor is doing a torque fill and helping your truck get moving. Maybe it helps that 6-cylinder feel more like a V8. It's almost like the same argument as forced induction from the 80s. Make this 6-cylinder feel like your old V8.
Yeah.
And it's very similar. And I hated Priuses when they first came out. I thought Teslas were like golf carts on the road. I call that my golf cart, you know? So I'm not an EV evangelist. I used to drive my RX-7 and drop a couple gears and thank them for offsetting my carbon footprint.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's like, thankfully they're doing it because I'm clearly not. But there are now new applications of this technology, and the performance and the it's a mixture of the economy, the performance, and the packaging. It's getting so much better.
Yeah,
it's changed so much from the Insight and the Prius and, you know, EV1, EV2 that were literally golf carts on the road.
Right.
Now we have some serious performance that consumers are actually going to like. Consumer demand is starting to drive a lot of this.
So one of the things I like to do is always assemble an engine with ARP bolts, and it's not just because they're sponsors, but because it really does work. And the stuff is fantastic. I never have to worry about it. Steve, you building cars too?
Yeah, actually, it's part of my baseline design plan when I'm building a car that's going to be shown or featured in a magazine. It's part of the plan to have that little bit of diamonds all over the engine bay or in the suspension.
Yeah, the stuff is beautiful. I remember a long time ago, I built the first time I ever touched it, 69 Z28. All of the water jacket holes had stripped out, and I learned about ARP studs.
So check them out at arp-bolts.com or check out their catalog. You'll find everything you're looking for.
We'd like to thank one of our main sponsors that's been with us for a long time, Alden American Shocks. They make a coilover shock that is very impressive. You have them on your Chevelle.
I got a set on my Chevelle that we did a little Jeff Smith's Garage video.
And very cool looking. I mean, with the chrome exterior, they're excellent looking. And you can get them different finishes as well.
And single and double adjustables.
The adjustability, that's what I was just going to say, is the key ingredient here, because you've got something that can be tuned to improve the suspension and ride for that.
And ride quality.
And ride height. So very simple.
Yeah, you can also adjust ride height. Yeah, exactly.
All very good.
Any coilover.
But anyway, so go take a look at aldenamerican.com, and if you use the code CarGuy10, you'll get 10% off.
Yeah, that's even better.
Even better.
Yeah. See, it pays to watch the show. And part of this is, I think, because America grew up with V8s, big engines with lots of torque, so this fits right in with that, you know. So I'm sure that must be a shock in Europe, where they're used to driving little tiny cars, where it's like, wow, this acceleration has got to be phenomenal. So
definitely, and a lot of people have never experienced performance like that.
Right.
I mean, a gas-powered car that went 1150s, you know, until the latest generation Mustang with the 10-speed auto and the Camaro with the 8-speed auto and 650 horsepower supercharged V8s, like, cars were not that fast.
Right.
You know, your Corvette was a 13-second car because nobody could shift it to the 12-second car and driver time that one person did.
Right. Their hero driver did. Right, exactly.
So for the everyday person that's not a performance driver, they're getting an experience that, you know, the only other place is pretty much a roller coaster.
Right. Yeah. It's now. So you mentioned the trucks. So do you, I mean, what kind of range in towing? Let's say a 3,000 or 4,000 pound trailer.
Sure.
What kind of range can you get out of the trucks?
So the bigger vehicles are interesting. I was actually just at a trade show in Long Beach called the Advanced Clean Technology Expo, and it was all Class 3 through Class 8 trucks. So everything from delivery vans to semi trucks that are entirely electrified. Wow. I saw probably 20 to 25, maybe 30 concept vehicles from major manufacturers. There was not a single diesel engine in the place.
Wow.
It was all hydrogen and lithium-powered vehicles.
Wow.
And they have switched now into providing solutions. Instead of just having packaging the powertrain or building the vehicle, they're also providing battery swap out services. They're providing hydrogen refueling technology. They're providing charging stations, and also tailoring these vehicles specifically to the work that they need to do. So if it's a school bus that does 2 30-mile routes a day, they don't need 600-mile range.
Right.
The other thing for the passenger vehicles that you're going to be able to buy, a truck's a bigger vehicle. So you can pack in more powerful motors, more power in the battery, which also gives you more range.
Right.
If you see like the Teslas and Lucids coming out with one, there's 1,000+ horsepower performance EV sedans coming out. The high performance model has the longest range as well. Because if you stay off the pedal, that's just more distance you can go, 400 or 500 miles in some cases.
Right, yeah. That's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
I will state, again, I've ridden in the cars and the straight line acceleration, which is interesting because when you were talking about, your wagon. It's like it does one thing. And as you said, and other people have said too, when you're in the water, here's its party trick.
Yeah.
Put your foot down it. So it's just like, there's its one thing. But you, again, have made it very clear. It's a good commuter when you're not doing the party trick.
Right.
Sure.
But for those of you who think I hate, which I've tried to state that I don't, though this is an annoyance, we got to find a way to fix this. When you stomp on the light switch and you accelerate, the thing is so strong that you sink back in the seat and it resets your seatbelt. Then you can't breathe. You can't breathe. And I'm like, I can't feel my knees. And so if Tessa, or if you're listening, if you could ease up on that, or stiffer foam, or something that just doesn't.
Strangle you.
Anyway, but it's obviously blisteringly fast and extremely impressive. But as a designer, and again, I know I'm speaking across the table to you because you obviously own a group of vehicles that are performance stuff with LSs, which I won't hold against you or you.
Okay.
And
We drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago.
The Kool-Aid. It is just water.
Yeah.
For me, as a designer, I get stuck into a frustration of it, even though you know better, there's multiple platforms. You know what's under there. But for me, I get frustrated with the world of you've got an electric drivetrain. So that means it's a big version of a Tamiya RC car. It's like today it's a Volkswagen. Tomorrow it's a Lamborghini.
Sure.
Today it's a 4x4 truck. It's the same thing underneath. And that's what how I got into this stuff wasn't raw performance. How I got into this is I loved the different things, not just the shapes, the different motors, the different trans. All those things are romance to me. So that clearly is really not, and it's not a slam, it's just a statement. It's not really there in that package.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's pretty much the same thing with a different body on it to a point. I'm not that
it's
ignorant.
very
I know
close.
there are different layouts, but same with radio controlled cars.
And the difference is mainly going to be in how they tune the software of making the car handle. It's very different. I mean, you still have your suspension tuning, brakes, tires, wheel packages, all of that. But, the motors play such a part in how the vehicle handles. Like you mentioned, the regen brakes, but they can torque vector, they can control each wheel independently, which is just getting further and further away from feeling like you're driving the car.
Right. And that's another thing. Like I was saying, forget the EV thing. I was so frustrated with Porsche when they were saying, and by the way, they are now making stick cars again because a large group of the Porsche ownership around the world said, we want our manual back, damn it. And so now, lo and behold, you can have that again because many people didn't just I want faster scalpel, I want to be connected.
Sure.
And that's part of the experience they like. I'm probably not close enough to the mic, and most people don't care. So they probably like, yay, shut him up. So that there's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's the thing we've said before. It's the missing, and again, you understand this because of the vehicles, the performance vehicles you own with V8s. It's missing the visceral.
And I agree with you 100%. I mean, I have my Mazda. I like to drive it on the street. It feels like California is trying to do everything they can to get cars like that off the road.
Exactly.
And I'm fine with technology marching on so long as we can continue to do the things that
As
we
long
want to
as
do.
they allow us to still maintain the cars, but which brings the
That's my
question.
thing too. It's like, give me an option. And the thing is, if I'm the person when you tell me no, I'm the first person going and doing it.
Right.
So it's like if you just backed off and I was like, I need another commuter car, I'd probably even humor it.
Sure.
But now when it's like, it's the only thing you're going to own, and everything you like is wrong and bad. How dare you evil person who...
Well, see, I think part of the reason for all this confusion is because we're
I'm not confused. I may be stupid, but I'm not confused.
Is the either or concept?
Yeah,
And again, we
there's
mentioned this
lots of
before
that,
it's never going to be either or because we don't have the infrastructure to support 100% EV vehicles, even though the state of California would love to have us all driving electric cars by 2035. That's not going to happen.
Not in my work.
No.
So I got a question for him.
Yeah, sure.
I just forgot it.
Okay.
What was it? It was important. Crap.
The light
I
bulb
am
was up
old.
here.
What am I
Well,
like?
So
No. It was had to do with, believe it or not, with electric cars.
shockingly,
I know. What was it? It was something to do with upcoming technology. Crap. It was actually
we'll
good.
think about it, because
Yeah,
we could
I
talk
gotta
about-
grab that back out of there because
Yeah.
it was actually made sense.
an intelligent question.
Yeah, it was. It was like an intelligent question and everything.
So I think part of this whole thing is, and chime right in, that we're kind of at the evolution maybe 100 years ago when the automobile was replacing the horse, and there's an awful lot of people that are so content with the horse that they can't see the advantages to the gasoline engine 100 years ago.
Right, I got it.
You got so. You remember your question now?
Basically.
Okay, all right. So
I was complaining on the way in here after driving the car that his car thing, that Aston Martin, which is one of my favorite brands, is saying, I think it's 2025, they're not going to have any normal engined cars, all
internal
electric.
combustion engines.
And so the question, because you're in the industry to a point, since there is money involved, since there is giant corporations wanting to get the upper hand and have their all electric stuff, which is the new hip thing going on,
Right.
whether it's good or not is not in question. It's definitely the thing that's happening. Sure. Rules are being put in place to force it, all that stuff. Are companies like Aston jumping the shark? Are they getting too far ahead of themselves already? It's like, that's it. Just wipe out gasoline motors. Wipe them out.
Right.
And is it arguable that plenty of people who would be purchasing one now, I don't want to buy that. That's not what I want in Aston Martin
because
for.
they're being forced into something they may not want.
Or let's go right back over to Porsche with the PDK and the manual. The Porsche, or a large group of that ownership, has already shown their hand and lost their minds about losing a manual transmission. Are you now going to go, guess what? You're going to get nothing. You're going to get an electric motor in your 911. No more heel toe. No more. You'll have blistering straight line performance and will still handle great.
Right.
I mean, is that a dumb move for Porsche? We should just say Volkswagen.
Well, I think history will obviously
But-
prove
but
that
I-
out.
You know,
one
you
way
know
or
where I'm
another.
going with this.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
people who don't want to purchase that.
Of course.
For whatever reason, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, it's like, and like they're all marching on to, nope, everything we make is going to be electric. It's
Well,
like, maybe your whole purchasing world doesn't want that.
And-
How about both?
to the exclusion of a situation where now we're not giving you an option. So
Right, that's what I mean. How about both?
So you're not
Right.
having an option, and too many people want what they want, and this is also about government intervention into into building us something that we want. So
Ferrari's got a new hybrid. Have you
and-
seen the new one? I forget the number for it, but it's got a turbo V6 hybrid. Beautiful car. They actually made a really good looking car, which they had to try and sell this to the Ferrari marquee.
Sure.
You know. So I'll be very interested because they're trying to graciously go into that.
Okay.
They also swore up and down they'd never ever do an SUV, and they are.
Of course.
Well, you have to do with the
Enzo's rolling over in his. Actually, if it pays for F1 racing, he wouldn't be rolling over.
probably
He'd be
wouldn't
like,
care.
Who cares? Sell this stupid truck thing, just as long as we can go racing. Sorry, I didn't mean to beat the crap out of you. I only got one eye. Give me a break. So I'll be interested to see what happens, or is the big global change so grandiose that we'll squash out you weird performance people anyway?
I think that's starting to happen, but it's going to be replaced by a different type of performance, and it might not be the engine noise and the mechanical connection to the car, which is a tragedy. I mean, I don't want to lose that either.
And I believe you think that because of
Right.
what you own.
Yeah.
We might have to all go back and get shifter carts and go race on the weekend. I mean, there's ways to get the thrill until they literally ban gasoline from the state. But
Right.
a good example is the Rimac Nuvera. Rimac just went into a joint venture with Porsche and Bugatti.
Yeah,
Rimac's
I know what
been-
it is. Yeah.
Yes, it's a
pretty good
EV
looking.
hypercar, 1,900 horsepower. It just went to Bakersfield on Michelin street tires, not a Cup R, not any R compound bogus. It was a Michelin street tire, all-wheel drive. It went like 830 at 167 miles an hour. Wow. Street
On that
legal
off-road track.
on what?
It's an off-road course, even though it's a drag track.
Bakersfield. No, Bakersfield.
That's why
Bakersfield.
I'm saying.
Right.
I've run nostalgia funny cars there. It's an off-road
Okay.
track.
Gotcha.
That's not. That's
And
the furthest thing from smooth as glass as you can possibly
right,
get.
right.
So
But-
that's the most extreme. That's now the fastest production car that you can buy. And
What
because
was it again? 860?
it was, I believe, an 830 at 167 miles an hour
167
on street
miles an
tires.
I bet
On
that
street
tightens the
tires.
seatbelt.
hour. Oh boy.
Definitely does.
Oh boy.
And
Damn it.
Tesla's new Plaid Model S, which is a little bit bigger car than we were in today, it goes 930s at 150. And we could have loaded up, all of us, and gone 950, 960 on the street out there. And you know,
That's insane.
you can
That's
say
just
you can say
insane.
all you want about how much you hate electric vehicles. You strap into a 930 sedan and do that on the street, you're gonna have
sure.
fun.
And
I mean,
again,
it's
And then
a
you can
different
also,
type
you
of
can also
experience.
see the bleeding hearts out there, the hand wringers going, why do you need something like that?
that's the
Yeah,
next
you
thing.
watch.
And
you
that's-
watch.
and
They'll
it's
take that
difficult.
away.
They'll
Yes.
well,
And
it's
you-
really
you
difficult
won't
to
even have to say it.
justify
They'll
it.
just go
Right.
like this from the mothership.
Yeah.
And your car ain't going to do that no more.
So that's the latest
Ugh.
thing, is to have 1,000 horsepower EV. You know, that's the latest thing. The luxury and performance sedans, they're all going to be 1,000 horsepower. They're all going to go nines, but I think they're going to punch their own ticket here soon, where the government is now going to say, that's 8 cars accelerating.
Yeah.
What are you
8
doing?
people could be driving for that.
Right.
And the part that frustrates me is people say, oh, electric's so much faster than gas-powered engines. Well, no, you've just made it to where you can't build a gas-powered engine due to emissions regulations
That is
and
capable
go
of
that
doing
fast.
Right,
You
right.
could build a 7-second gas-powered production car,
Sure.
put a
you
twin-turbo
wanted to.
big block in something and 2,500
And have at
horsepower.
it.
And
Let's start
yeah,
doing that right away. Let's do
Right.
that tomorrow, shall we?
I'm game.
Dad's
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
We have an 80 Malibu station wagon. It needs to go 6s.
Need is the operative word. We
Yes.
need
Yeah.
to go 6s.
Yep. Yep.
By
So-
the way, anytime during this episode, if the producer and engineers can be bleeding in, just piping in Red Barchetta by Rush, all of you kids out there and older guys, go look up Red Barchetta by Rush and read the lyrics, and you'll be very interested, because it's basically about a kid who goes to his uncle's farm, and the guy's got a red Barchetta. His uncle has this sports car hidden away because he used to drive it before the motor law. In other words, it's illegal to have cars. And he goes out, takes it for a joyride, and he gets chased by whatever the official law things are, and he has to hightail it back to the barn. So
hide his car, right?
Yeah, and that was written in the 80s.
Yeah.
Wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
Look at him preach it, Rush. So anyway. What?
Yeah. Should that be listened to on vinyl only?
No. No. Even though I highly recommend.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Go on. Have yourself some fun. Look up Red Barchetta. Read the lyrics. And enjoy some good musicianship.
So
Rest in
I
peace,
think where
Neil
we're at
Peart.
here is the transition. There's where all the tension's coming from, because
Sure.
we're in the midst of this transition, and old guys like us that grew up with internal combustion engines, and young guys like you that
Sure.
did too, and we're seeing this transition happen, and it's disconcerting, right?
I would agree. Yeah,
word.
it's challenging.
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah.
I still want to drag race. I've been drag racing since I was 16. I've been racing some form of vehicle since I was 11, and I quickly see that path slipping away from me. At least in California,
Yeah.
unless I want to get into some other form of electrified racing. I mean, Porsche just unveiled their endurance EV.
I saw that.
It matches the performance of their GT2, GT3 Le Mans car.
Really?
So it's
a
coming.
full electric car.
Full electric car.
Don't sound like it, though.
No, it certainly doesn't. So motorsports will live on. It's going to continue to help these companies develop the latest and greatest technology, and that will benefit consumers. And I think for the average consumer that needs a people mover, I don't want to deal with a transmission that doesn't do what I say. I don't
Right.
want to try and pull out in front of traffic and have it not be in the right gear, and then I'm cutting people off. I mean, electric is a better experience for the day-to-day. But just losing or banning everything else outright that we want to do on the side.
Yeah, it's
Completely
the
agree.
pendulum
That's-
swinging so hard the other
Sure.
way. It's
Right.
like, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Right.
whoa. You know,
Right.
let come down with harder regulations to thin out the herd, less gas-powered stuff. You know, you need at least 50% of the cars you manufacture to be all electric. Let the consumer decide which way he wants to go.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
even 2/3, 1/3. 2/3 all electric, 1/3 gas. So at least you have the choice. And obviously, it'll crush the amount of fuel being used
Sure.
in comparison just by default. You know, just allow options. But it's no. Just
Yeah.
close the door and, you know, just start beheading people in the streets. I mean, jeez. You know, let them eat cake. Well, I like cake, but you know what I mean? You know, it's just like, y'all, you know, I mean, good grief.
Well, but I don't think it
Ugh.
necessarily. I mean, it may be that's where it's appearing right now,
Yes, that's exactly how it's.
but it may not necessarily be the reality of it.
Well,
20 years
and that's
down
why
the
I
road.
posed that question to him. It's like,
Right.
is it wise for them to put all the eggs in one basket?
So-
'Cause you can't tell the
mentioned
future. You don't
the
know.
show that you were just at,
Yes.
and they were over the road vehicles.
Yes.
So like full on tractor trailer setups.
Correct.
And those they have decent range.
They do. So you have a lot of space on a vehicle that large. I've seen some, they put either hydrogen tanks or batteries where the sleeper cabin is, you know, extend that out, put
Okay.
stuff in there,
So where do the guys sleep?
extend it out.
On top of the
Right.
the
On
hydrogen
top of
tank.
the batteries, they're nice and
You
warm.
sleep on the tire.
Right. And trailers. I mean, they're talking about solar panels on trailers, which is kind of a strange concept right now because solar is not that power dense. But,
Right.
you know, over time, this might develop. You can also have batteries in your trailers. So maybe you drop your load.
That's kind
at
of what I
the-
was thinking was that
at
you
the
would,
warehouse
because
and-
the trailer has that area between the tires, you
Sure.
could fill with batteries and connect that to the truck.
Correct.
Right.
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 So-
That's weight.
It
It's
is.
weight, you know, which
a lot of
reduces their mass that they can carry,
Right, right.
but you know, we just have to figure out how to make our freeways better so they
Right.
can carry more weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's certain targets that have been set, especially here in California. Port of Long Beach by 2035 is going to be zero emissions. So you
Wow.
cannot drive your diesel-powered truck into the Port of Long Beach. All of the support vehicles within the Port of Long Beach will be zero emissions.
Less
so
than
that's
15 years from now.
yeah. So that's either hydrogen or electric. And if
How old am I?
But again, that kind of makes sense
Maybe I'll be
because those
dead.
are limited use
Sure.
vehicles. They have a
that
given
solves my
distance that they
problem.
travel,
Right.
And so that works. Like you
does.
mentioned, school buses,
Right.
That's a perfect example of that, or garbage trucks, or you know, they have a set route every day
Correct.
where we know that's what it's good for.
And you're not idling your trucks when they're just sitting there,
Right, right.
which is not the noise, you know, the emissions. There is still emissions,
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's
Sure.
like there's a million things that you could force the electrical thing on to make big
that is
changes.
beneficial.
Yeah,
and
totally
that
beneficial.
does make a lot more sense, in my opinion, than going after the passenger market first. And I think that's where we're going to see the most transformative change. You know, your gas truck won't be annoying, or your trash truck won't be as annoying when it comes through your neighborhood. It'll be more efficient, cleaner. Your delivery vehicles, you know, Amazon, FedEx, UPS, they will all have all electric,
Right.
and in some cases, autonomous vehicles here soon. They don't need as much maintenance. You know, there's no oil changes. There's almost no moving parts.
Right.
And it's much easier to make an electric car drive itself than a gas-powered car.
Because I can remember moving out here in '79 and working on Sunset Boulevard and having the diesel-powered buses drive by you with these clouds of black smoke coming
Right.
out of them. And
Bill's
it was
character.
evil.
What's
oh
wrong?
boy, it was evil. You know, and it was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And now you look at where we are now. It's
Right.
like, okay, it's much more clean. It's much cleaner now.
It is.
Compressed natural gas, things like that, which were much more. But even the electric would be a far better idea.
Right. And a compressed natural gas powered bus does not excite me. I mean, I love internal combustion engines. I don't care about stuff like
Right,
that. I
right.
just want to keep playing with my sports cars and drag race cars and V8s. And I tell my customers, you know, I'm like the worst example of somebody working in this industry because I spend my day job to earn money working with EVs and alternative energy. And I take all my money and I throw it into engines and race cars. So that's still what I like to do. You know?
And that's why
Which is
we're
great.
letting him live.
Yeah.
Because afterwards, we'd have to kill him.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
So
That's fair.
So I mean, I don't know
That's a
that we're
fair call.
necessarily going to. We're not necessarily going to convert anybody.
No.
but I would highly suggest going out and test driving one. Just get a feel
Just
for
loosen
it.
the belt up first.
But take it because it's impressive.
It's
and,
a unique
man,
experience, and it's a nice driving experience for a day-to-day car. I think some of the other areas where it's going to benefit us, which I didn't know until I started working this job, is improvements to the grid. You mentioned problems with the grid. Electricity is not my favorite thing to purchase, and it's also not necessarily the best experience of all time to have brownouts or blackouts in your home, not have your air conditioning on hot days. And this extra demand, not only is there billions of dollars being put into it, but some of the smartest people we have in the state, our engineers are working on these problems right now. So, you mentioned leftover batteries from the vehicles. They have different grades of batteries. The highest performance can go in a car because they can be discharged very quickly and charged back up. After they age out, you take the cells out because they're all modular. You build cells into modules, construct into packs, put a computer on it, put it in the car. After that life cycle is done, you can take out the cells or you can put those packs into energy storage on the grid. So now the solar charges the batteries. You run your building off the battery. You're not pulling from the grid as much. So these are improvements that's going to improve not only our transportation, reduce pollution every day, but also improve our experience getting electricity from the grid stability, and be less reliant on a single source of electricity.
because the whole thing is, people may not understand that you can't save really electricity like you can in a car and a storage battery. So in your house, when you need the electricity, the demand is high, they have to put it out. But then at night, at 4 o'clock in the morning, the demand is really low.
Sure.
They have to pull that production back down again because it has to be on demand.
Right.
So with a group of batteries where you could begin to store that power, then that levels that curve
Yeah,
back
it's
out.
called peak shaving.
Okay.
If you can shave that peak and keep it more of a flat line, power plants are very, very efficient at running stable through the
Right,
day.
right.
And usually the ones they bring on for peak are some of the dirtiest and least efficient because
Okay.
they're being fired up just to cover
Right.
those peak demands.
Right. So again, it's all about advancing the engineering.
Sure.
Yeah.
So our grid's going to get better, smarter, and more efficient through this as well. Yeah.
Look at all this stuff you're learning. This is
Smash
stuff
cut
down
to a
with-
scene
would
from
have thought,
Terminator.
So, Daniel, thank you for coming, man. This
Thank
has
you
been
very
a lot
much.
of fun.
It
and,
has. Steve, thank you.
Steve learned a few
Definitely.
things.
Something.
Maybe.
and we'll just keep playing this game out. Likely this will not be the last time we'll be talking about this, and
We can have him come on every now and then and give us updates.
updates, yeah, technology updates, yeah.
Updates.
All right,
Okay.
So that's it from our grid,
Keep your enemies close.
and go out and light up that internal combustion engine.